This is it TV. Icon Talk. Where the icons talk.
Hello everyone. Icons, welcome. Welcome to the newest edition, the newest iteration of This is it TV Icon Talk. However, this is the football edition. Now, this has been in the making for quite some time. Actually, I published the first episode of Football Edition in October, but of course, I had some footage in it that NBC made a strike on YouTube, and we had to pull it eventually. And I've been trying to figure out a way how to get back in the in the race, because obviously, as you'll see from my presentation, I like to put in little clippings and little examples from video stills, etc., to iterate my point and show exactly where my analysis is coming from in particular moments during the game. As you could clearly see behind me, this is a Manchester United centric program. You may look to the side to what's at my left, and you see the Sporting Lisbon banner also. That's because, is it ironic that the Sporting Lisbon ex-manager is now the Manchester United manager? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's God's plan. But this is where we're at. And yes, I am a Sporting Lisbon fan also. Today, like I said, this is the first episode of the football edition of Icon Talk. So, what we're going to do today is assess the Manchester United-Liverpool game. I've been watching a lot of pundits and analysts online giving their 2 cents. Some is, particularly egregious. Some leaves me wondering what the hell these people know about football. So I'm going to throw my 2 cents in. Welcome to the platform. If you're here, please like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever you need to do. You know the whole vibe. You know the vibe. You know what you got to do to make this platform reach into the wider populace. All right? So these are my key takeaways from the Manchester United-Liverpool game. The 2-2 draw at Anfield. An epic game. Had me on the edge of my seat, and I'm sure it did for you also. So let's jump right into it. We know the season that Manchester United has been having. And let me tell you something. Sunday's game was a breath of fresh air for me personally. Not because the team drew and could have won, but simply because of the performance. Because I've been saying pretty much for the last 2-3 years, we don't work hard enough. And if you look around the league, you'll see all the teams that are now on the up, their basic and number one tenet is hard work. And Manchester United has been the breeding ground of mediocrity for too long. And now we have a coach, Ruben Amorim, who, thank you, Lord, thanks to the heavens, has now come and put his foot down, identify the problem, and is now willing to take the necessary steps. So here we go. In no particular order, I want to present my key takeaways from this game. Good and bad. And again, in no particular order, right? The first thing that I was happy for, and this is kudos to the coach, the team selection. There were no surprises here. For the first time, I think he trusted his gut, trusted his expertise, and he went to the best 11 available, right? We know that he's been experimenting since he's been at Carrington. He's been playing many different 11s, and I guess, to be quite frank, trying to figure out the players, because for all, I've been watching Manchester United since 1986, 87. See, I know it defies my age and how I look. Thank you. But what I will tell you is, this is the first time in all those years, I don't even know how many years this is, that I have not been able to identify Manchester United's best 11. So he took his time to sift through, what he had, And I think for the first time since he's been here, he presented his best 11. Um, Another thing that struck me is Meno. The fact that Meno is still adapting and trying to learn the system, when Menu was one of the only senior players at Carrington when Amarin arrived, because all the other players were on break and Menu was recovering from injury. So he was like present for the early days of Amarin when he was trying to get his ideas across. You know, I think he's still recovering, trying to get back his confidence. But at the moment, him and Ugarte are our best option in the middle of the pitch, and it showed. Um, the next thing I recognized was the team was more compact defensively, and we seem to be defending in central areas more effectively, right? This was one of our Achilles' heels on a Tenag, and let me go on the record and say I was very supportive of Tenag. It was kind of sad to see him go, but it is what it is. All right, but we are now more compact, and it could be for a number of reasons. I think the two most specific reasons why we're playing so much more compact is the presence of Ugarte, who is a natural number 6. And people don't realize that players such as Ugarte, who has come up in a rigid South American and Uruguayan system, and that whole ecosystem of football where defensive midfielders are hard nosed in South America. I think he's just a direct replica of what you can expect from these hard men from South America. And I think the system the system that Amarin employs also allows us, it requires us to be more compact centrally. So that's one of the things that I noticed. The third thing that I noticed in this game is as early as the 3rd minute, Diego Dallat started running at Trent Alexander. And it was very obvious to me that this was a plan. And it worked itself in such great ways that most of our effective attacks came down that left-hand side for Manchester United, where Diego Dallat was just seemingly going past freaking Trent Alexander as if he was a statue. And it created that impact where Konate, who's the right-sided central defender for Liverpool, had no choice but to start to overcompensate to make up for Trent Alexander's weaknesses. And as a result of that, it forced their captain, Van Dijk, to be doing extra work. And we all know Van Dijk does not like extra work. He likes to command and set his troops how he likes. And, most games Van Dijk finishes the game without bursting a sweat. Believe me, he burst more than a sweat in yesterday's game. Right? So that was a very key tactical move that Ruben Amorim did. And if you remember well, it is as a result of this deficiency around Trent Alexander that Martinez got that goal, because it was that reverse pass from our captain Bruno Fernandes, right, that played in Martinez in that exact area that Trent Alexander should be defending. All right, so that was, kudos to the coaching staff for recognizing that area. All right, and the fourth thing that stood out to me early on in the game was that, you may have noticed that, you may remember that we have been leaking goals from corners like crazy, right? Onana, the reserve goalkeeper in 3 games ago, they just fluffed their lines, and we were starting to look like, schoolboy footballers, actually. But it is obvious to me that work was done on corners. Early on in the game, the first 2 corners that Liverpool had, Onana was very assertive in coming out to receive that ball. And I think Liverpool took a while to adjust, and I don't know how Slot made this pass. Seeing how we have been so shaky on corners for so long, Liverpool's first two corners in this game, there was no pressure put on the goalkeeper. So Nana actually had a free rein to come and receive, those corners. At the third corner and beyond, if I'm not mistaken here, let me look at the statistics. Liverpool had 5 corners in this game. So for the first 2 corners, Onana had a free rein to receive that ball. But after that, 3, 4, and 5th, Liverpool put a lot of pressure on Onana in that box. A lot of pressure, a lot of numbers around him, got it crowded, just like the other teams have been doing. But Onana was still very aggressive enough and assertive enough coming for those balls. And that was something that we hadn't seen before. He got pinned down in other games, and thus conceding goals from literally every corner that was taken against us, or an opportunity. So that was very noticeable also. The 5th thing that I noticed, and you notice we're sticking to most of the positives right now. The 5th and very incisive thing that I noticed was this system that Ruben Amorim plays requires that passes from the defenders, the back three, etc., especially Maguire as a central defender, the libero, so to speak, breaks the lines. The passes into the forward players has to break the lines, has to split the defenders and go into our forward players, who then have to hold up that play and then, turn and go at the Liverpool defenders. This was the first time that I've seen Manchester United done this effectively. You remember that goal that Martinez played in, I think it was Highland a couple of games ago, that was played over the top and split the defenders, and we got a goal from that. We saw more of that in this Liverpool game, and kudos to Highland. Some people, I've seen places where they say Highland didn't have an effective game, but I think he was very effective in putting pressure on the Liverpool defenders. If you watch Liverpool all season, you will notice, like I said, how Van Dijk is very comfortable. There was no comfort level to Van Dijk during this game, and there are multiple examples of him, being rash, turning, arguing with his defenders and with his midfielders. So I think that was a very positive thing for us to keep breaking the lines. And Bruno, Ahmad, and Rasmus did a way better job of holding on to these passes. In the 11th minute, there was a classic example. You guys should go back and watch the game, because I can't post the clippings. NBC will strike me again. In the 11th minute, De Ligt played a 60-yard pass over the top down the channel for Rasmus. And when Van Dijk went out there to effect the challenge, he was visibly irate. I don't know who the hell he was cursing at, because I guess he was just cursing because he didn't want to do the work, right? I must say, before I do that, again, remember to like, subscribe, share the channel. This is a brand new thing that I'm doing here. It may have its little kinks, but bear with me. We'll get better as we go along. All right. How I wanted to present this thing, I couldn't, so it had me doing, extra work to get to this point for you guys. All right. And I didn't want to just present to you a mediocre, regular, normal thing. I wanted to give you a little bit more insight and incisive analysis of the game. Let's turn over to, I won't call it bad, but the not so positive things that I noticed. We haven't quite worked out the basic tenets of defending just yet, especially the back three. Now, the 3 basic tenets of defending is pressure. That's the first defender putting pressure on the ball. Cover. That's the second defender who's there to cover the first defender. And balance. which is the rest of the team or the other closest defenders around the football. So pressure cover balance. We still haven't decided how we're going to do that, and that is basic schoolboy football. That's one of the first things you learn as an under 16 player, right? So I think we're still working out that, and I don't know why. Also, Harry Maguire has cement on his feet, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'm sorry to inform you, Harry Maguire has cement on his feet, and it was visible in many areas of our defending. In fact, when he doesn't have cement feet, what he does is either he gets drawn out of position very easily, or he doesn't cover his first defender, quickly and incisively enough. And it is played out in many different examples during this game, some of which you will be seeing on your screen right now, right? You will see wherever there's a blue line, it indicates the player that I'm addressing. A green shade will show you the space within which the player needed to be operating, which he wasn't or didn't. So you will see numerous examples. On the goal that Gakpo scored, you will see clearly, firstly, Harry Maguire played Gakpo on. And this is a schoolboy error again. He's looking across the line, right? And at no point should you be beyond the closest defender to the attacker. And if you look along the line, you'll see Harry Maguire is a little bit deeper than his defender that he's facing. And if he was just in line with his defender, Gakpo would have been played offside. Okay? With that being said, that's another error on his part. The goal also, you could see that he was very slow in getting across to cover the lid. Ugarte is breaking his neck getting back, right? And Ugarte is not only paying attention to Gakpo, he's also, at one point you could see where he kind of stagger his run to come inside because he's expecting that pass inside to two Liverpool players that were at the top of the box, right? All this time, Maguire is there dysfunctional, seemingly not knowing what to do, right? And when Gakpo cuts inside of the lit, who overcommits and dives in, I don't know why, Harry Maguire is still late to the party, still late to put in a block, right? So Gakpo just thunders a shot into the back of the net. Also, if you look across the pitch, you will see Dallo and Martinez in no man's land. So I can understand why Harry Maguire was a little bit hesitant, even though he had no idea what was going on behind him because he didn't glance, right? I had no idea why he was so hesitant. But Dallo and Martinez was in no man's land. I don't know who the heck they were marking out on that flank when the danger was in the center of the pitch. So again, our basic defending needs improving. No, and again, listen, this was a way better showing by the lads. So, I don't want to beat them too much. But there's one other thing that I want to point out in terms of the negative. Crosses. We have been running from crosses like Dracula on Judgment Day. Can anyone tell me how many goals have been scored against us from crosses in the last 4 or 5 games? I genuinely mean that. I'm asking because I didn't look it up. But off the top of my head, I would say about 4 or 5. Right? We're not stopping the crosses from coming in. And even on one of the plays that McAllister, that Salah played into McAllister, and he had a free rein on our goal. Thank the Lord that Onana made that save. Martinez failed to get close to Salah. He's trying to get it on his left. That's his go-to. He has to get it on his left. He has nothing with his right? And you look at the spacing between Martinez and Salah when that ball is played in. Also, Look at Harry Maguire again. How deep out of position he is caught, and Meno is struggling to catch up with McAllister. It's almost it's shambolic how our defending is just so poor. Thankfully, we are paying a goalkeeper a tidy sum to effect these saves. And let me be clear. This is not a bash against Harry Maguire. I think he had a decent game. He did what he was supposed to do in terms of initiating attacks. He should have won us that game. I won't hold it against him. The ball bobbed up, and these kind of things happen. Another thing that I want to point out at Harry again is that the way he backs up off his attackers inside his area or close to his 20 yards out from goal, he will always get tight higher up the field, but for some reason he gives them a lot of space, 5-7 yards space when the ball comes into his attacker. He's 5-7 yards off when you should be at arm's length distance off. So these little technical things I hope Amarin addresses. And Harry Maguire, as a former captain, England international, I have no idea why why this deficiency is there still at this point in his career. All right. But however, with all of that being said, I was very pleased with the game. I was very pleased with the effort. Yeah, you go to Anfield and get 48% possession. That's a good day at any office. Liverpool is the runaway leaders in this league, 47% actually, and we actually had more corners than them. So that shows you we had a lot more pressure in their defensive third. In quick summary, before we end this, I didn't want to do 30 minutes. We're approaching that, so I want to wrap it up real quick. But thank you for staying with us. This is a TV football edition. I'm going to try to give you content as often as possible. But again, it's not only Manchester United centric. It's a football channel, but we are, F it. It is a Manchester United centric channel. All right, we'll be giving you stories on the Reggae Boys. We'll be doing put in the comments which games you would like me to assess and analyze, and we'll do that. How about that? You tell me what you would like me to comment and give my analysis on, and we'll take it from there. All right. But in summarizing, what I'm hopeful and looking forward to is this week. Our next game isn't until the weekend, and the manager has been bemoaning the fact that he hasn't had time to train his players. Going into the Liverpool game, he had 3 days with them, and you could show it was palpable. You could see it on the pitch how that the 3 days transform the team, at least the mentality of the team. So now he will have at least another 4 days this week going into I think we play Arsenal in one of the cups this weekend. That should be interesting. So that's a positive. This break and this time to train will give the players a little bit more belief in themselves and a little bit more belief into what the manager has been trying to do on the training pitch. Anything else? Honorable mentions before I go. Ugarte, of course, is slowly becoming undroppable. I would argue that he's undroppable right now. I already spoke a little bit about him. Bruno Fernandes, it would be remiss of me not to go without speaking about Bruno. Bruno seems to have taken that Newcastle defeat personally, right? Because remember, he was out of the Newcastle game because of indiscipline and red card. And he was way more measured in this game. What I noticed about Bruno was that he was less petulant and he was more commanding, right? And you could see it on the pitch. He was arguing less. He was applauding his players more, and he was more, inspiring going forward. What I loved about Ruben Amorim at the end of the game was that even though we put on the performance of the week, of the performance of the season, he was still angry at his players. And his reason was this. Where was this performance before? He was angry because he saw something that he knew these players were capable of, but have not been able to deliver. And, that tells you the type of manager that we have. how he demands more and more every single game from every single player. Also, I must commend the traveling fans because you know Xerxes was booed off and jeered um, from the last game. And the traveling fans actually gave him a warm reception when he came on in the dying moments of the Liverpool game, which was, you know, we're grown people, but you know, he's also a human being, and he needs that kind of encouragement and that kind of love. And also the traveling fans, man, based on what the commentator was saying, they were very loud and vocal. And for you to out vocal the spectators at Anfield, that takes quite a doing. And it sounds like the Red Army was out in full effect. So, another thing, Luis Diaz. Anyone notice how he was kept in check? Luis Diaz has been arguably Liverpool's hottest player, on fire, creating havoc, running defenders to wreck in the last, I would say, 10 games. He was substituted. That tells you everything you need to know about the performance of the lads. So, join me again at some point this week. I can't give you a day. I say I'll be trying to give you daily updates. And listen, some days you won't see this beautiful backdrop that you see now. Some days I'll be presenting to you from on the road, at work, in my work van. It could be anything. Just know the content will always be top notch and it will always be the best in class. All right. Again, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment so we could grow the platform. This is a TV football edition. This is your host, Davman. Icons.